Imagine that you have no idea on when your flight will be cancelled, when the city will open up, and how many times more you have to do that PCR test. This is PCR activity every 2 days for another month. Yeah, so that is me in May and April. Much more interestingly, those are all my journaling pages. At that time, I was trapped inside my emotional box. So let's unlock the black box of emotions with scientific-based tips from the book How Emotions Are Made, and how I apply those tips into logseq for journaling and keeping my well-being in check. So hi, my name is Priscilla, and I am a dental and psychology student who is quite a professional overthinker. We often hear the term that says it's about how you react and respond to things that happen to your life. So what are emotions? What are thoughts? How does your brain simulate consciousness? Those questions have been on my back burner for a very long time. And so for all those questions that have been simmering on the back of my mind, the wonders of Google brought me to this place. So I saved this article that's called "The Reality is Constructed by Your Brain. Here's what that matters and why it matters." And this website will go into my first level of processing, which is the library of articles in Reader's app. And whenever I find quotes and things I like, and then highlights goes to Readwise logseq tag. So that is one of my little fun workflow where I am scrolling on my phone. That seems like I'm scrolling on social media, but actually I am not. I am reading articles and learning at the same time. The brain there, Priscilla. The first picture on this article is so cool. So I'll put it here and share it to you guys. Look at the black dot on the left of the photo. If you look at the spinning dot on the right, is it moving diagonally? Another one is this one. Does this picture look like a seal, horse, or even a rabbit? How about this one? Does those lines look parallel? Yeah, that is our brain trying to make sense of the world. I open a new logseq page and type out my research question. Started to kindle my curiosity about what the heck is reality? What are emotions and thoughts? Now let me read the quote for you guys. It's really important to understand that we're not seeing reality. That is very weird. So what the heck should I trust? I can't even trust myself, and I am a completely different person when I have different thoughts. It fabricates a completely different sense of feeling, of consciousness. After reading this article, I've named the theory and concepts the psychologists and neuroscientists come up with as constructed reality, because our brain makes sense of our perception and constructs the story. So I guess constructed reality makes sense to you guys, and this is one of the notes that I type under those quotes. Sometimes if I'm in a good mood, I will process those notes into my permanent/evergreen notes. Since we just scratched the surface of emotions with this article, why not dive deeper? Let's turn to the research academic world. Dr. Andrew Huberman released a podcast on the science of emotions, and he recommended a book called How Emotions Are Made. So remember in that other video called Stitch Reading, any old audience out there, I give you guys a little cool mental model. I like to search up Lisa Barrett's Wikipedia page. So I've searched up the summary of the book, and I actually found an official website of this book called HowEmotionsAreMade.com. And this book even has a glossary of terms that it used. Why not keep this glossary of terms? It will definitely be handy when I am reading this book. So I chuck it into my reader app again. Same with like Kindle. When I highlight on my Kindle, they also get synced to logseq and go into Readwise. I just focus on the basic principles to make sure that I will finish this book, and to power up my curiosity and emotional investment to its highest. I will read like my life is dependent on it. This mindset also utilizes a tool that Andrew Huberman says in his episode. If you want to pursue your goal in the long-term process, you have to think of the consequences of not doing this goal. Because the principle is to activate our fear circuits. To put this tool from the podcast into my life as a template, here are a list of questions that I have typed for myself in logseq under the book notes page. But of course, don't get really crazy with those questions. Those are all the questions to pump up that emotional investment. The book uses many examples to explain how emotions are made, but I just focus on the basic principles of how emotions are made, aka the theory of constructed emotions. So now, just go to sleep. And yeah, wake up the next day and hello, good morning. There are 3 questions that I ask myself. First one is, how are you feeling? Are you feeling pleasant or unpleasant? The second question is, are you energetic or drowsy? The third question is, where is your attention focused on? Those 3 questions form the 3 axes of emotion, from layman's term to scientific terms. First question, are you in a pleasant or unpleasant? This concept of unpleasant/pleasant feeling is called valence in those psychology neuroscience term. For example, excitement and happiness has a positive valence, while sadness, fear, and anger has a negative valence. It has just a negative overall feeling, if you know what I mean. And then the next question brings us to our second component of emotion. In the scientific terms, this is called arousal state. It is controlled by our autonomic nervous system. There are 2 parts. It is Mr. Parasympathetic and Mrs. Sympathetic. Those 2 systems works in a seesaw fashion. When the body is digesting and resting, the heart rate will be slower and the sympathetic nervous system will tone the body down. And then when the body needs to be in a fight, and the sympathetic nervous system will make us sweat and we'll have our cortisol and adrenal glands going. And then the rest and digest and peeing system will be turned down. And the third one is, where is your attention focused on? This is built up by 2 concepts. In scientific terms, this is called interoception or exteroception. And you feeling what your gut feelings are is an interoception. And then exteroception is you focusing on the world with your eyes, ears, nose, and touch. It's just your external senses. Yeah, so reading and watching my video is a type of exteroception. Your body is in motion at every single moment in your life. Your heart is pumping blood through your arteries and veins. Your digestive system is helping you to digest food and absorb nutrients. The body senses all those things and creates a mental image in your mind on how your body feels at any given time. This is processed with intrinsic network, and then the feeling that we feel from those internal organs and bodily functions is called interoception. And all those 3 axes added together gives us the dimension of our feeling. This is called affect in psychology, but emotions are different from affect. And yeah, so the difference of affect and emotion is that affect is a very basic feeling of good or bad, excited or drowsy, but emotions is a complex construction of the situation, and emotions has a cognitive interpretation perception component in it, while affect does not. What is the 4th dimension that makes affect into an emotion that we label with our vocabulary, such as fear, resentment, disgust, happiness, exuberance, joy? Yeah, the list of emotions goes on. We're gonna talk about concepts. So we all know what sharks are, right? When you think of a shark, what do you think of? Is it a great white shark? Did I guess it right? Isn't that a really typical image of what a shark is? And yeah, great white shark is a exemplar or prototype of the schema shark. The same thing is for identifying an emotion. An emotion is a concept. Whenever we have experienced a negative feeling, we might interpret it as sad, and then that is a really typical prototype of a negative affect. And then happiness is a really prototypical emotion. But what about that when our interoception are pretty similar but positive or negative valences, but the situation is completely different? Like, how can you distinguish between? So let's think of a hammer shark. A hammer shark, it does not fit into the prototype of a shark, but it still follows some general characteristics of a shark. That is a cartilage fish, and it also has a side wave moving tail. Our body can use our past experiences to label our bodily sensations, just like how our brains can adjust the prototype of a shark to fit it around the image of a hammer shark. Our brain is just a bunch of chemical soup inside a mummy's tomb because it's literally sitting inside our skull. The gateways that can access this brain is through our senses and only through our past experiences. Our brain is very, very good at deciding what concepts to use on which one, but we need to have enough of those concepts, right? The brain tries to categorize body sensations by making concepts and predictions. The brain launches thousands of predictions simultaneously in every moment. In the storm of probabilities, it never lingers on to one single prediction. So anything that I have not ever encountered, the brain will not know because it has not experienced it before. So the body has to predict what will happen so I can make a good response and my body can prepare. This is called body budgeting. The body budgets our energy and see where we should spend it and allocate it for our predictions. That obviously their prediction won't always be correct, but let's review a little bit. So the brain constructs emotion with interocepting our affect and then labeling with a concept. Yeah, that is the basics 101 theory of emotions.
Woohoo! Painting time! We will bring this painting into a metaphor of concepts and how emotions are made.
Since we cannot change stuff in outside world, we can only change our perception, and if we can be fine-tuned with our bodily sensations. Identifying your emotions is like painter drawing the ocean. There are many shades of the same type of or emotion. I can identify 50 different shades of crappy and 50 different shades of happiness. These are named this emotional granularity. So how do I put everything in action after all those theoretical work? Remember that I always like to say that I use my daily notes page as a thought management / tracker thing. There are many different things that I use in this page, and then this is one of the templates that I really like to use. The 3 questions I've just mentioned. When I'm really confused and I have no idea what my emotions are, I use logseq as just a random dump place, just in place. This is not for processing micro traumas and fears and restrictions. This is for just a daily check-in for myself on how I am emotionally doing. I also check in with myself 2 to 3 times a day by living through the situation and identify what is the actual emotion that probably better for me to interpret it as, instead of having a bunch of cognitive distortions like overgeneralization or taking things personally and it's not rational at the point. First, I will journal all those 3 questions that I've just typed. Once we can gain clarity through our thoughts, I can know what is going on inside my hectic internal state. Oh gosh. After all those clearing my thoughts and writing out my feelings, I will open up this emotional wheel page that I saved on my sidebar, and I'll find a concept to label my current state. And this can change my reality slowly into an interpretation that is more rational. The brain loves making sense and meaning of the world. For example, I can associate my chest tightness and muscle tightness to this lockdown period, but actually I don't need to do that. When I have more emotional concepts, I can label this tense body feeling as excitement, anticipation. I can label it differently and use this different body state in a different situational context. After I reframe those emotional states, third thing can be writing those things into an actionable list. If I'm feeling very horribly and cry a lot, I dug deeper into my thoughts. I tried my best to keep myself in a third-person point of view and organize my thoughts into things I can do and things I manage. And then I walk into the rain, meaning I acknowledge my overwhelming bodily sensations. When I'm in discomfort, I don't know how to manage my emotions. I just come into an entire rut. So I have been on this mental health psychology journey thing for around a year and a half. I still need to take good responsibility of my adult self and my inner child. I have so many versions of me that I need to take care of. So how can we increase our chances of succeeding at this mastering emotional granularity and emotional intelligence? I've summarized a few tips from the book's chapter called Mastering Your Emotions. The main premise that the book says is that expand your concepts of emotion and obviously rest well physically so you can actually be self-aware and know where attention is going. Some of more detailed, concrete tips are: first one, go experience new things and go read new books. Those 2 things let our brain not live inside this little black tomb and experience life. So the more experience and the more concepts and the more knowledge we have about our bodily sensations, the better we can label our interoception. And the second one is meditate. Meditation is a guidance of your attention. So meditation helps us to focus our mind on our breath, and after I've anchored my attention on my breath, I can open up to my thoughts and emotion experiences. I can be really fine-tuned and self-aware to my interoceptions. And after that, my mind is clear. I can even focus on the outer world and keep my bodily state in check before it is way out of control when I'm so anxious. Third one is change up your environment. Whenever we change our environment, we'll change our emotional and habitual triggers. If you want to build and develop a habit, you want to make that cue as obvious as possible. Because the third one is take turns buying your friends lunch. If I'm just splitting the bill, why not let someone buy my lunch and the next time I will buy them lunch, so we can all feel the feeling of gratitude. The fourth one is one of a tip that I've developed on my own. I like to find grounding anchors for my insecurities. For example, I use walking down the park or going to a gym to work out as my anchor, because I'm sure that this event will happen. Although everything in life is not in my control, part of my schedule is in my control because I have booked my workout and painting, so I can go there and actually experience this new thing that is very, very rewarding to me. And remember the picture that we have looked at the beginning with those optical illusions? The final sentence that we can conclude this whole thing is that, I'll read a quote from the book. Our brain predicts stories and our sensory information simply confirms that the predictions are correct or not. And yeah, that's what the brain does. If you like this video on how I change my internal reality by managing my emotions, you might want to watch why I hopped on this mental journey, because I left dental school. Video, thank you so much for watching, and I wish you all mentally healthy, happy to be sane. And yeah, if you guys have anything you want to watch or want me to deep dive into, because I'm just nerdy as that, have a good day. Bye bye.